50 yards per punt, had a big 69-yard boomer with the wind at his back. That was so important, Bill, late in the game with about 2 minutes left. So Rutgers had to try to go 87 yards to try to tie the game. If he shanks that and Rutgers has half a field, it's a different story. That was a boomer. And keep in mind, Brian Buschini with his 5 punts for, over 250 yards. Also completed a pass, a 30-yarder. All this happened after he was injured on his very first punt attempt.
And I mean, it was a block. It was a big block. He hit the ground awkwardly, and you could see through the rest of the game. I don't know if you could tell from where you were, but on the TV view, he was wincing and he was in a lot of pain.
And even there were moments in the second half where Nebraska's backup punter, Camden Cook, he was warming up on the sideline. And you wondered if Brian Buschini would be able to return to the field. Good thing he did. And it's appropriate that the day that everybody's yelling "Sue" for Ndamukong Suh at the end after that long one, it was boo for Buschini.
It was. So it was kind of a weird game. I felt like it was really the first game we've seen Dylan Raiola probably really play like a freshman. He, 70% completion percentage going into the game, was one of the top, I think, 15 in the country. Today, just 13 for 27, 134 yards. Threw a bad pick, I thought, on an RPO. Bad snap.
Well, he didn't see the linebacker.
Yeah, didn't see him, just threw it straight to him. And again, the running game had its moments, but the offense kind of sputtered today.
The offense was a little bit underwhelming, but it's okay because the defense played so incredibly well. 13 tackles behind the line of scrimmage. Nebraska finished with 4 sacks. And, man, that pass rush, it was impressive. And I was surprised Rutgers threw the ball as much as they did in the second half. Kyle Monangai had 70 rushing yards in the first quarter alone. Finished with 76.
It was an impressive showing. Because you thought after that first quarter, okay, 70 times another 3, could be over 200 yards. The average is 150 a game, so you just thought it was the beginning.
And even there were a few times where Rutgers had some key moments. There was a 4th and 2, 4th and 3, 3rd and 5s. They're passing the football. And with Nebraska's it's because Nebraska kind of took the run game out of it for Rutgers. And then when they attempted to pass, here comes James Williams. Here comes Nash Hutmaker. Here comes Ty Robinson. Here comes Princewell off the edge. Like, those guys were getting home regularly. I'd be curious to see, we don't have it in the game stats, how many quarterback knockdowns there were in this game.
Goal line stands are always probably one of the, can be one of the best moments in a game. But a 6-play goal line stand that the Huskers pulled off, again, I think it was after a blocked punt. They hit Rutgers, had the ball at the 1.
First and goal from the 2.
2. There was a penalty that gave an automatic first down. Didn't matter.
No points.
0.
Like, that's pretty cool stuff right there. Mm-hmm. And the guys that, Rutgers tried to run up the middle and they got stuffed a few times. And then Sierra Wright comes up with a pass breakup. And you talk about a kid that is really coming into his own. I think he's deserving of a black shirt at this point in time because the 2 games he's now started, he has played outstanding. He plays with a lot of confidence too, Bill, and I think that's what strikes me most about Sierra Wright is, and you got to be confident on the edge. I don't think he's afraid to guard anybody.
No. He was excited to do the mashed potatoes dance with his INC.
Is that what they call it?
I think that's what it's called. It's the mashed potatoes dance. I was doing it with Carmelo in the Weather Center while watching.
So your game ball question, of course, Brian Buschini is the first recipient of a game ball. If they do the actual game ball in the locker room, if we're to do our 10-11 fictitious game ball, Buschini gets number 1. Number 2, you could give to James Williams, I would say. And number 3, I give to Tony White, the defensive coordinator who, I don't know if many people noticed it, but Nebraska changed its defensive alignment somewhere in the middle of that first half. I just remember looking up, and they had 4 down linemen, which is not normal for the 3-3-5 defense. So he made a little tweak in there, and I believe the intent for that was because of the success Rutgers had running the football early in the game. So Tony made an adjustment to really try to bottle up Monangai, and once the Huskers did that, and you put the Scarlet Knights in a spot that they have to throw the football, that's when that pass rush gets to just go to town, and the back end did a nice job defending. There was one busted play where Rutgers had a ball in the breadbasket, They dropped it.
Right off the face mask.
Yeah.
Right off the face mask. The one they did complete, it was a 43-yard pass. It happened, and I thought to myself, that looked like Tommy Armstrong against Georgia to Quincy Enunwa, the 100-yard touchdown pass. Kind of has shades of that, but that was really the only big play that they really hit the whole game.
What was the longest play of the game?
Oh, gosh. I couldn't even.
69-yard punt. I mean, that doesn't count.
Yeah.
Longest pass play for Rutgers was 17 yards. Longest run play for Rutgers was 43. Ben Black had the pop the long one, but for Nebraska, the fake punt was 30, and Raiola had a 36-yard completion. So this is a game that I'm not saying it was starved of highlights, but there wasn't a whole lot there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think fans, Bill, really enjoyed this game just because of, the grit, the toughness, the physicality in which Nebraska played.
I really liked Matt Rule's quote after the game because, one of the first things he was asked about was like, hey, you guys want a one-score game. Like, you guys can do it. And he said, no, they know they can do it, but they need to learn how to do it. And this was a good day to kind of be like, hey, this is how you do it. Don't look at the scoreboard. Don't look at the score. Don't look at the clock. Just go out and keep playing.
I think the crowd also really affected this game. There were times where Rutgers had third and manageable. There was a false start in there. There's a delay of game. There was some negative yardage for the Scarlet Knights on third down key moments. And I believe that the crowd certainly played a factor. And this is a team from Rutgers that came to this game as one of the least penalized teams in college football. So a little credit goes to the student body, the Nebraska home crowd, and hopefully they enjoyed the football today. It was windy. It was hot. The hottest? Yeah, go for it, Mr. Meteorologist.
Hottest ever Husker home game in the month of October. We were a degree away from tying the all-time October high temperature.
Hottest Nebraska home game at kickoff since 1985.
That stat is really hard to believe, considering all the late August, early September games that we have had.
And as I saw that stat, and I actually first heard it from Greg Sharp during the broadcast right at kickoff, and Greg just sneaking that in, you're like, oh my God. That's why Greg Sharp is so incredibly good. He's ready with all that information. I was starting to think, like, hold on, Nebraska's played some really hot games. But then my, mental Rolodex starts going to some of the road games. Playing down at Miami, and I think 2015, that game was hot. And then the Illinois game, the season opener on the road, I think it would have been 2018, 2019, that game. Ooh, I lost some weight that day, just sweating, sweating and running up and down the sideline.
But again, like, they switched sidelines this year, and these are precisely games why. I don't remember who it is. I'd give them credit. I saw it on Twitter, but like, the Huskers had an hour and a half advantage, I think, of being in the shade versus in the sun.
Of course, somebody's going to dig up the numerical data behind shaded and not shaded. But Nebraska gets a win. The Huskers are now 5-1. 1 win away from bowl eligibility. Heading into the bye week, up next is Indiana, who defeats Northwestern today. Indiana already has bowl eligibility. The Hoosiers are not the Hoosiers that everybody thought they would be at the beginning of the season. They're 6-0.
Kurt Cignetti? Is that
Kurt Cignetti, yeah. The former coach of James Madison came there in the offseason, and this is a team that they score some points. Mm-hmm. I believe they went over 40 again today. So the defense that played very good against Rutgers is going to need to show up on October 19th in Bloomington, Indiana.
All right, Kevin, you still have some work to do left for the 10 o'clock show yet, so we won't keep you any longer. Really quick, though, again, you mentioned it, but we hit the bye week 5-1. What's your big overarching, takeaway from the first half? Because 50% of the season now is in the books.
This defense is really, really good. I think everybody knew that they would be good because of everybody that came back. Mm-hmm. Isaac Gifford, Ty Robinson, Nash Hupmaker. He's gotten even better. And they have so many guys that can contribute on defense. This is the 5th game out of 6 in which the opponent has scored 1 touchdown or less. So Nebraska is, once the day of football is done, Nebraska is probably going to rank inside the top 10 nationally in scoring defense.
Pretty good.
They have yet to give up a rushing touchdown this season through 6 games. And keep in mind, Rutgers had the ball at the 1-yard line. Couldn't punch it in. So I know the sexy answer is Dylan Raiola is really good, and Nebraska has these veteran options on the perimeter, and they can score. This defense, It's really good. It might be, I hate to do comparisons, to previous defenses. The one with JoJo Doman in Nebraska held everybody really low. JoJo's senior year, what would that have been, 2019? 2021? I don't know. They all run together. That's why I don't like doing this live on air. Yeah. But that defense was really good. 2009, and I don't want to put this defense in the conversation of 09 right now, but in a couple of weeks we could start that conversation, I think.
Statistically, yes, they obviously don't have the player like Sue on that defense, I would argue. But statistically, they're probably close.
Ty Robinson's first team All Big Ten right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude is wreaking havoc.
Yeah.
And he was just walking past the Rutgers center a few times like he was playing a JV player.
Yeah. He's a big man, and he hits people, and he hits them really hard.
So over my overarching theme on all of this, like my biggest takeaway of the first half of the season for Nebraska, they're 5-1, which is about what a lot of people thought. Yeah. Of course, the pie in the sky was starting 7-0. 6-0, 7-0. But the realists of the group said, there might be a loss in there, maybe two. And Nebraska escapes the first half with a 5-1 record. Great spot. Win one game, go on bowling, win a few more games, even better bowl. And the Big Ten's crazy. Stay in contention as long as you can. And Nebraska is right in the mix in the Big Ten. But this defense, man, they're fun to watch.
Defense travels. Offense has bad game. Defense.
Well, defense is going to give you a chance every game.
Yep.
This defense will give Nebraska a chance because the one loss and overtime loss.
Against a good Illinois team.
Against a really good Illinois team, yeah.
So, all right, well, Kevin, we'll see more of your coverage coming up tonight in the End Report on 1011 News at 10. So make sure you tune in for that. Appreciate your time as always. Appreciate everyone for tuning in and watching. Until next time, hope everyone has a nice weekend. You can soak in Vandy beating Alabama and all the I think Miami kicks off at 9:30 tonight, so that's going to be a weird game. But appreciate everyone for tuning in and watching. Until next time, we'll see you later.
You've been listening to the End Report Husker Show, sponsored by Fat Dog's Convenience Store. Watch, listen, and stream on the 1011 Now app, on YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. For more Husker coverage throughout the week, watch the End Report on 1011 Sports at 6 and 10 p.m. and download the 1011 Now app.